2013 Jeep Wrangler. Came in with the check engine light on. It has two codes. The two codes it has is a P0128 and a P0520. Now, what we're just going to focus on this video is the P0128, the coolant thermostat. Coolant thermostat or coolant temperature below regulating temperature. And what that means, there's two things that it means. I guess the first thing you want to do on this is just check and make sure you have coolant in the radiator and make sure your overflow is full. Of course, don't take that radiator cap off unless it's cold. The next thing, it can be, and overwhelmingly, if you have coolant in your Jeep, realistically, this is really going to be a thermostat. Now, the thermostat comes together as one unit. It's the thermostat, thermostat housing, thermostat gasket. You replace that together. Okay, so two things, just a pro tip on this real quick. Two things you want to check real quick. Now, like I said, almost all the time it's going to be a thermostat if you have coolant in your Jeep. But what you do want to check is two things, and this Jeep will cheat. It tells you the answer. You want to just check and make sure your temperature is reading correctly. This says 64. Yeah, it's about 64 or 67 in our shop right now. The next thing you want to check is you want to make sure that the engine temperature sensor is correct also. And to do that, we're just going to go in the live data really quick. We should see like an ECT line. As long as those two numbers are really close, it's going to be a thermostat. But let's just check it real quick. We're going to just go into the complete list and just thumb down to it. ECT. There we are. Engine coolant temperature, right? Oh, keep passing it. 62.60. So that's close enough. It's not like showing 100 degrees when it's not, or 200 or some insane number. When it's not connected, it may say -20, -40 or something like that. So these two numbers are close enough. So now what we get to do is just go ahead and change the thermostat housing, thermostat gasket. Next thing we need to do is make sure we have coolant in our radiator and coolant in our overflow. Before we take this radiator cap off here, we want to make sure two things. It's not hot here. It's not hot here. And this is not pressurized. We can squeeze that. See how we can squeeze that? So we're going to be fine with taking this radiator cap off without it exploding everywhere on us. In order to get this cap off, what you do is you push down and you turn counterclockwise or left. And what we're going to find, look at that. So we've got coolant all the way to the top. If you're just a little low, this may just take a cup or two. If it's taking a cup or two, that's not the problem. If it's taking, if you had to put a gallon in it, yeah, that may be your problem. So we've checked that. We're good there. This is our overflow right here. We're up to the full line on that as well, so we're good there. So next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and replace our thermostat. What we're going to do on this, we're going to go ahead and pop this. It always tells you to disconnect your ground cable when you're doing that. You know what? It's going to take 2 seconds to do that. I'll be a good boy and do that. Ground. This is a 10 millimeter. Okay, ground's off now. Okay, we're good. I followed the rules. Okay, two tricks for you. This is really going to take, I think, just an 8 and a 10 millimeter to have this out. And then I'll give you a couple pro tips here. There's your 8 millimeter. There's your 10 millimeter. I like getting two trays, one for my bolts, and one for my tools, and one for my bolts. And so the top two, these are 10 mil. Got those two out. Okay, the next one we have is we're going to switch to an 8 mil. This is going to be for the intake tube. It's just hiding right here on the side. Right here. This is a screw clamp, actually. Okay, that's good. That's loose. And then the next thing I like to do is pull this off as one unit. To do that, there's a few of these clips on your airbox. There's one, And then there's a second one right here. 2. The third one is down on this side. 3. It's right here. And then the fourth one, I don't know why they put this one here. I hate this one. It's all the way, it's like straight down from here. You basically have to stick your finger down in there and pop it. That one's horrible. A lot of places won't put that one back on. Okay, next thing I gotta do is take this hose off. This is just, need to loosen that. Okay, don't forget to put that one back on. And then this is the tricky one. Look at this one right under here. We have a little sensor here that tests that's your air temp for that's what the temperature, that measures the temperature of the air going into the engine. We do this all the time. You do this whole job, forget to plug that back in. What do you get immediately? A check engine light. So if you had no check engine lights or you cleared it and they come right back on, make sure you plug that back in. That is common. Okay, now there's 2 ways to take care of this coolant, to drain the coolant. As you saw earlier, we've got to do a oil filter housing on this, so we're going to go lower. But if you're just doing this really quick, 2 things you can do. You can just take your thermostat off here and let your coolant drain. That's the one way. The other thing you can do is actually drain it from the radiator if you're doing a more full flush. Now, in order to drain it from your radiator, what you've got to do is the drain is right here, okay? It's right there. In order to get to that, what you've got to do is you've got to take off 2 of the most difficult body clips that Jeep makes, and they're right here. So you're like, oh, yeah, it's just a little Phillips head screwdriver. What you're going to try to do is 9 out of 10 times, you're going to try to loosen that, and all it's going to do is it's spinning its hole. You try to go really lightly, it won't pull out. So let me show you a trick for that, how to get that off. So we've got the little screwdriver in there, hitting on that, and try to pry that up. I don't think that's going to come, so we're going to switch to the next size up. Maybe 2 sizes up. Ooh, look at that. That's coming now. And wiggle it up and see if you can turn this screw at the same time. At this point you may have just broken it, so you can just take it out. I am not putting this one back in. This one is, these are horrible screws to deal with, and I'll show you which ones we put back in. Pliers in there, grab that. It should just come right up. There's a little space there. There we go. We're going to do the same process on this other side. We're just going to take this cover, and all we have to do is just slide it a little bit. So we're going to move it from here to here, and then just tuck it underneath the front bumper. Okay, now, so that's it right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab is drain some coolant out of the radiator. To do that, we just need a long set of pliers. Stick it at the drain there, and we just want to turn it. Remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty on this. Just go ahead and turn that. It's going to, sometimes you'd think it'd come out of and then the first little bit, sometimes you need to give it a little bit more of a turn. So, that was like a full turn. And now it's draining. What it's doing right now is it's hitting this, kind of the bottom shield on the bumper, hitting that, and then it's going into the overflow. I don't think it's worth taking that off. Just, you can just put some water on that, rinse it. And I also don't feel like it's worth taking the front grill off between the bumper and there. You can use a really short set. So either really long or really short works. Okay, so that is draining. What we're going to do is we're going to take our upper radiator hose off. We're going to take our radiator cap off. And you can hear it's draining faster now. Now let's put the radiator cap off. And then the only thing we need to do now is just take this clamp off. Now, let me show you a really cool tool for that. And there's two ways to take the clamp off. You can either use like a set of channel locks or something and work that around. I don't like using those. I like using these. And this allows you to be able to really get in any direction or feed it down or put it anywhere you want. But this, what you do is you just hook this up. You just hook it up on one side there and on the other there, and then you pull. And then you just squeeze your trigger, and then you're good. And you just kind of wiggle that loose. Move that back. Okay, we're going to wait just a few minutes while that drains. Okay, next thing we're going to do is pull the thermostat off. To make it the easiest, what you need is like a 10 mil. And then you need a little extension because this little 10 mil isn't long enough. So if you get a little tiny extension, it's going to come right off. What I usually do on these hoses, the Jeep's got like 100,000 miles, I don't know, 75,000 or less on it, 100,000 in that range. We'll usually just put a new upper radiator hose on right now. If it's got low mileage like this one, I think this one's got like 30 or 40,000, it doesn't need it. It just doesn't have enough mileage on it. One thing I will show you about these Mopar hoses that are different than the parts store hoses. This does two things. It says RAD, that stands for radiator, and it's got a little tabby there that shows you to line it up with that notch. Same thing over on this side. That says ENG, short for engine, and the notch is right there, lines up with right there. So you should never be able to put a radiator hose on backwards if you get it from the dealer, because the writing is right there for you. Okay, we're going to pull off these two bolts. There's your number one 10 mil. Your other two 10 mil is just right underneath it. There's just two that hold this on. Can't see it. There it is. It's just right on the bottom there. Okay. So those are your two thermostat bolts. Thermostat housing bolts. Right there. So, all we need to do now is just take the thermostat off. We may get a little bit of a gusher here on this. It's hard to tell. Depends on how much drained out. No gushing at all. We can pull that up. We can just loosen that right there. And then there's, like I said, this is your thermostat housing, thermostat gasket. Comes all together. We do use the dealer ones because a dealer, we've had fewer problems with the dealer thermostat housing, thermostat gaskets. There is your part number right there. You don't say the 0 when you're asking for one. So it's a 5184651, and they're on Alpha Hotel right now. Every time they come out with a new one, the second digit H, it'll go to HIJKLMNOP, whatever, till they're done. So it's an AH. This 001, you don't say that either. So it's a 5184651 Alpha Hotel. There's your part number. There are your torque specs right there. So it's either 12 Newton meters or 106 inch pounds, not foot pounds, inch pounds, 106 inch pounds or 12 Newton meters. That's a torque tight spec on there. All we have to do is just make sure that the surface is clean. You can see that the thermostat gasket got stuck on there. It's not in there. Got stuck. And then what we want to do, just use Scotch-Brite or something. You can run your finger around it. Just make sure that this surface that the thermostat gasket attaches to is nice and clean. These Scotch-Brites work real good on that. It's not aggressive. Just rub it a little bit. Go around, feel it with your finger. You can see how quick that cleans up. This is a newer engine. This doesn't have the mileage on it that yours may, so mine may clean up a little bit quicker than yours. Okay, and that's ready to rock and roll. That's clean. So, ready to put our thermostat housing, thermostat gasket in there. That's what the new one looks like. This is easier way to bleed it. It kind of is in the way of the throttle body. So, I mean, the easier way, if you're going to use this, is to actually take the throttle body off. I actually bleed this differently. I actually fill the whole thing up, make sure it's completely full, run it, wait till the thermostat opens, and then make sure the fans are running, turn it off, and then when you turn it off and it settles down, you're going to need to put some more coolant in your radiator, usually, I don't know, a cup or two, usually not much, but if you're getting warm, if you're going to do that way, you want to watch your dash and make sure it doesn't get too warm. If it gets to like 3/4 or so, or past the half, turn it off and get some more coolant in there first. If you're having a hard time bleeding out, you can use that, but like I say, it's like right in the way. Kind of your throttle body's right in the way, so it's kind of hard to use. You do want to make sure that this is tight. It'd be horrible if, like, you got one, you're not going to get one from the dealer or something that's loose, but maybe from the parts store. Make sure that that's tight if you're not going to use that. And then from here, we got it all cleaned up. We just need our gaskets here. Just need to go ahead and get one bolt started. There's number one. And then number two is right down underneath it. Tighten up the bottom a little bit by hand first. Ooh, that was backwards. We'll go a little here. A little here. A little there. There. Okay, now we just need the torque wrench. Got our torque, set to 12 newtons. I'm American. I'm American as they come, but you know what? It's easier to set something to 12 newton meters than it is 106 inch-pounds. Sorry, guys. 12 newton meters. That's what we're going for, and we're just going to check this. Okay, we're going to that's right there. And the bottom one. It's very, very close. say that's there. There's your 12 Newton meters. So now all you have to do is just connect the hose, your upper hose. Use your hose clamp tool. Put that back in place. I like to put this right back in this, if you're going to use the old hose, right back in the same exact place as it was before. Like that. So that's back on. So from here, it's still draining because we're going to do this next part, but all you have to do is tighten your radiator down here, tighten the drain, and then like I say, you want to fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it. It's just going to take a little bit at a time unless you're using this drain, unless you're using the bleeder. Like I said, look, it's like impossible to get to. That's like really hard. I mean, you can come up with, you can take that off, that makes it easier. Or, you know, you can just fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it. Make sure it's full. And when you start it, watch your temperature, make sure it doesn't get too warm. And then let it heat up. So make sure your fans go on. And then go ahead and turn it off, let it cool down, and refill. And you're good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to twist this to the right. You need to go about a half a turn more. There we go. Next thing to do first is stick on this sensor connector, because it's the one that like gets forgotten once you put this hose on. So go ahead and connect that. And let this wiggle down into place. I'm going to get this hose out of the way. I'm going to attach that there. Put the hose on there. I'm going to take these two longer 10mm bolts. Put them in there. Put that in there. Tighten. Let's check that by hand. That feels good. That feels good. Okay, we just have the 8mm hose clamp right there. Good, that's tight. And then we just have the 4 air box clamps. And we just have the 4 latchets here. 2. They're going to get progressively harder. There's 3. And then your last one, like I said, is like impossible to get to. It's way down in the bottom here. There's just no good way to do this. Just gotta have long fingers, I guess, or a screwdriver or something, but you just go ahead and fasten that one. Then you're good. Okay, so the upgrade, the massive upgrade this Jeep is getting are these body clips that go on the top of this top bumper cover. This is what they look like. This is like this is a Honda part number, frankly. I'm not gonna lie, it's a Honda part number. These work really good. Anyway, look at this. You just put that in there like that, push the button. Watch this though. It comes right back out again. Look at that. Comes out. That's done. Put that one in. Push the button. Done. How you get the engine cover back on. So you have to align this and this with this and that. Okay? So you kind of have to look underneath it from like this angle and get it like lined up. Ooh, that's lined up. So when this falls down, it's going to go perfectly in place. Okay, now what we're going to do is just add coolant. We're going to add this and add this and add this till it bubbles up to the top. This is a really hard motor to bleed, so you're going to be squeezing this while you're adding, squeezing and adding till it comes up to the top. After it's up to the top and it stays up there a little while, go ahead and start. Put your radiator cap on, start your engine, and watch your temperature. Get it completely warmed up. If it starts to overheat, turn it off. Let it cool down, add more coolant. But we have actually a special tool to bleed these, but I want to be able to show it for you guys at home. Just keep adding, 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 adding. Don't ever open this up if this is hot. Awesome, guys. Appreciate you for watching. Stay off your tops.